Welcome back to the Giants of Backlog. Before I get into the episode, I just want to address the elephant in the room. We've moved to a new studio. Our old studio flooded, tragically, and we've had to relocate to this blue room. But we're still a group of friends playing through our backlogs together and inviting you to join us on the journey. This is also our new co-host, first episode. This is Alec Gradle.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Giants Backlog.
Happy to be here, Paul.
Gradle's a longtime friend of John and Jay's. They went to college together, and then I got to know him as well when I'd visit. So another friend, another member of the band, so to speak.
Another giant. With a backlog.
Elephant, some would say.
Yes, some would call me an elephant in the room.
So this week we played Gears 5. The Gears franchise is something Jay and I have talked about in the past. It's one of our favorite franchises. Some of the games are among our favorite games. John had never played a Gears game before. And had you played a Gears game before?
No, I had not.
I had watched you guys play multiplayer.
Yeah, that was me too.
And I had played some multiplayer with you. But not much.
I watched Jay and Sekman play a lot of multiplayer.
Yeah, we should have had Sekman as a guest star.
Yeah.
Spent thousands of hours of his life playing Gears 4. Anyways, though, it was a lot of fun. Jay, John, and I played co-op. And then Gradle played by himself.
And I still managed to finish before you did.
Yeah, it took us a long time to finish this one. But, oh well.
Schedules.
Yeah. So, before we dive into Gears, though, I wanted to kind of break the ice. I wanted to talk about achievements and trophies in games. So, what do you guys think about achievements and trophies in general? I know Gradle's a big PlayStation guy, Jay's a big Xbox guy, John's a big PC guy, and I kind of dabble in everything. Nintendo doesn't have a achievement system, so if a game doesn't implement it, you're out of luck if you play on Nintendo consoles.
Playing the game's an achievement in itself.
I've always found them as like an extra motivator to get me through games. Like I just beat Psychonauts 2 recently, and the first thing I did after the credits rolled was I looked at my achievements list, and I'm like, okay, this is an easy one I can knock out. This is an easy one I can knock out, and I just played an extra couple hours to get the gamer score.
Yeah, I finished the first Psychonauts, and I got the platinum for that, I believe. But yeah, I love getting 100% on a game and platinum it to completion. I usually will do it, like you said, at the end of a game. But if it's a game that I know I'm going to like, then I'll look beforehand just as a quick glance of like, is there any missable trophies? Because that's one thing that I hate is you play like 60 hours of a game or something stupid. And then it's like, oh, well, back at hour 20, you needed to do this.
Yeah. I have a story like that. I remember Far Cry 3, which I played for Xbox, or on Xbox when I used to play a lot on 360. And I collected every collectible in that game because I loved the game. I beat the game, and then I started doing all of the end game content, everything that could still be done, went through every underground bunker, everything, collecting every collectible in the game. And I got to a point where I had one left. And I could not find it on the map. I searched the whole game. Go back, I got on Google and found out it was during a instanced part of the story. You had to get it, and I couldn't get it. So I was one relic away from 100%ing Far Cry 3.
Yeah.
And couldn't because it was in an instance part.
That's always the heartbreaking moment when you realize that. I know we'll probably talk about Witcher 3 a little bit, but yeah, the freaking cards in that game, I regret not looking at the trophy guide before I started that game, because there's like 6 chapters where it's like, you can miss it here, you can miss it here, you can miss it there, and then you can miss it there, and it's like all 10 hours apart.
Yeah, it's funny you named an Ubisoft game, John, because I was going to say, like, Ubisoft games are notorious for that, locking you out of achievements early in the game if you don't look.
Yeah.
But that kind of, so, like, I wanted to talk a little bit about how game developers implement achievements in their games. Like when I was thinking about this, it seemed like there's three buckets. They're earned as you progress through the game just by playing through the story. Some of them are collectible based, like the relics. You just have to hunt and find them all. And then there are some that like really take you off the beaten path. And like an example of this, I recently played The Witcher 3, and one of the achievements I got that I thought was really cool was the Butcher of Blaviken. And it was an achievement I got for killing 5 enemies in like a 5-second span. Yeah. And it was just like a cool part in combat. Like I parried an arrow and shot it at some guy and it killed him. And then I like cut 2 guys down and then I killed like another 2 with a sign. And it was just like action packed. And then it's like the achievement popped up and I was like, oh, cool.
Those are always the proudest moments. And then there's like, there's moments like I would have never gotten that playing through. And I have to like try to get it later.
Yeah, I do. I'll look at guides too if I really want to 100%.
Yeah,
game.
like the similar one is Uncharted is to like kill 5 enemies with a grenade, or something like that, and you have to look at where you can actually do that.
Yeah, and then luckily people find out and then post it on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always go for achievements. I race my buddies on gamer score. And when I see one of my friends has a lot of gamer score, I go, wow, that's awesome. And it's like a respect thing. Yeah. So I always try to go for it. 100% the ones that are easy to 100%, or if I really like it. But even if I really like the game, like Gears, sometimes it's impossible. Like I just started playing Dead by Daylight. And I looked through the achievements, and it's like, get 50 kills with this ability with this character, get 50 kills with this ability with this character. And it's like, to get all the achievements in that game would take thousands of hours because every single character has its own achievement. Some of the characters are DLC. And those, I don't like it when games make it like impossible to get them all.
Yeah.
You know, like anybody, if they want to play any other game in their life, would not be able to get all these achievements because the time investment is just insane.
Yeah, the one that reminds me of that is like my one friend got like Mortal Kombat, and it's like the same deal of like you have to grind every character for a stupid amount of time just to get the achievement for every character.
Yeah, I guess that's a fourth category I didn't think about. Achievements that you just have to grind out like that.
Like the one I just finished this past Monday, Digimon World Next Order, shout out, 139 hours.
That's awesome.
That was a grind. Like I enjoyed the first probably 100 hours of that game, if I'm being honest. And then the last 40 were a grind. And that's what I don't like is like, if I like enjoying a game and playing through a game because of the content, great. But if there's stuff that's like another 40 hours of just like mindlessly, like I would seriously play this game on my phone while my girlfriend and I would watch a TV show, like just to like get it done. And that's not the ones that I like to do.
Is it a phone game or?
No, I remote played.
Oh, okay.
Remote played on my phone.
Well, I've told these guys this story already, but I played through Lake recently, and it's the game where you deliver packages. You basically work for the UPS. And to get all the achievements, you have to make 3 different decisions at the end of the game. So I'm reloading my save, going through 3 hours of cutscenes just to make a different decision. And they're each worth 100 gamer score, so they're kind of worth it. And then there's one achievement that I'll just never get. It'll be the last one. I'll have 900 out of 1,000. And it's where your boss calls you and asks you to work on your vacation, and you have to say yes both times. And like, why the fuck would I do that in a video game? No, this isn't real life simulator.
Yeah. Too real.
Yeah, I'm not gonna work.
That's hilarious.
You take vacations?
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul. So you asked us to think of achievements in preparation for this that we've gotten and that we're proud of. And admittedly, I forgot to do that. But while we had this conversation, I thought of one that I don't know if I'm proud of, probably not proud of, but an achievement that I received recently that I don't think belongs in video games. So, as you know, we started playing New World, the four of us, and I got a little more addicted than the rest of them. Jay's been progressing a lot too, but I've played quite a bit of New World since it was released a little over a month ago. And New World has a couple achievements that pop up while you're playing. First one being 80 hours of playtime, which I got on like
Day 4.
like day 6 or something. And then 200 hours of playtime that I got on like 2.5 weeks in. And I'll tell you what, those should not exist because those are achievements, like Jay said when the 80-hour one popped up. Those are achievements that make you feel bad
for playing it.
Like you're playing a game, you're enjoying yourself, and then it was released 2.5 weeks ago, and then 200 hours played pops up, and you're like, 200 hours? I don't even know if that's mathematically possible. Like it might not be, but it's ridiculous. I hate that those exist.
The dev is saying, "Why are you spending so much time playing this game I made for you?"
Aren't there games that like will pause after they detect that you've been playing for so many hours and be like, "Hey, take a break"?
That's RuneScape does that.
Oh, okay.
You get 6 hour logged in RuneScape if you've been playing for 6 hours straight.
I think that's something they're trying to regulate in like China.
Yeah, I think kids can only play like 1 or 2 hours during the week and then only 3 hours on weekends.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
I remember the Wii would do that. After a certain amount of time, they'll be like, "You should go outside." It's like, no.
It's like Nickelodeon. They had their day of play once a year when instead of having cartoons on, it would just be like a repeating video that was like, "Go outside, it's day of play."
Yeah.
All you obese children.
What's one you're proud of, Jay? 1 or 2?
I don't know, man. I don't really get too proud over individual achievements. My most proud I get is getting the 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say getting all 3,000 points from Spyro was an achievement, and I felt good after just finally getting the last one and uninstalling it from my Xbox.
Yeah.
And that's like when I see that last achievement pop, like I put my feet up and I'm like, I can rest now, finally.
Yeah.
But no, there's always, the 1 or 2 difficult ones per game. And I think sometimes it's like a strange balancing act they have to do where they need to make it hard to achieve so it's worth achieving, but also not turn you off and you just don't go for it at all. An achievement that I am proud of is beating Gears Tactics. Just the main story. The final, like you beat the game on any difficulty.
Yeah.
It was under 10% of people have done it because there's just so much filler missions in that.
That game is long, like for no reason.
But yeah, I think a lot of times I'll get into a game and I'll be like, "Oh man, I'm only 300 points from 100%ing this," and then I'll look at them and be like, "Nope,
Never getting that.
Nope."
Yeah, I'm just looking through my list now, and there's so many that I'm at like 91%, and I know exactly why.
I did that earlier. I looked through like all of my trophies, all of my achievements, all of my Steam achievements. Steam actually will show you on your profile your achievement showcase, and it'll show the 6 rarest achievements.
Yeah.
And I have one for Persona 4.
Oh, nice.
Listening to over 250 lines of Rise's dialogue during fights because everybody just skips them, but I didn't. I just was like, I just loved Rise, so every time she'd say something, I just listened to it.
Her voice in that game is just soothing. And fun fact, she also played Kate in Gears 5. Same voice actor.
Is that Laura?
And it shook me because I didn't know that the first time I played Gears 5. But the second time playing through it with John and Jay, I'm like, okay, I just hear Reese. I don't hear Kate anymore. So it was cool.
Yeah, my probably proudest, I'll probably say 2. My proudest achievement would be the Yakuza 4 Platinum, just because you guys all know by now what that takes.
Yeah.
I learned Mahjong 7 years ago, and I replayed Mahjong in Yakuza 0. No idea how it works. No idea. My buddy would be so disappointed in me. And then I'd say my like proudest, just because it's like my favorite game of all time, is definitely Kingdom Hearts 1 or Kingdom Hearts 2. Either of those platinums.
Just oh my god, you did that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh. I'm sorry.
And particularly Kingdom Hearts 1, the reason that you mentioned, I'm sure, is because you have to play it on every difficulty, but they don't stack. That's like one of the few games that doesn't difficulty stack. So you have to play it on beginner, on standard, and then proud mode.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, whatever, I'm going to play this game 3 times.
What's difficulty stack mean?
When you play the hardest one, you get the ones below it.
You get the achievements for easy and medium.
Do you know there's people who do no-hit runs of all the From the Software
Yeah,
games
dude, I watched them.
in a row?
Yeah.
That's insane.
People love that franchise, like myself included, but like some of those speedrunners are insane. Like they know the game inside and out.
For me, that's an achievement where I look at it and I say, yeah, fuck you, is play through the game again. It's like, no, dude, I got this whole backlog of games I gotta play. I'm not gonna play your game again. Maybe in 10 years.
Yeah.
I split it like, it's my favorite game, right? So I'll probably play it once every 2 years. And usually it's when I'm in a new relationship. So I guess this next one I should probably play.
What game?
What Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, okay.
Who doesn't love Disney?
Yeah, that's true. You know, I've never played. I played Kingdom Hearts 1. I never played Kingdom Hearts 2 or any of the other.
What about Chain of Memories?
Yeah.
356 over 24 days.
No, but I
Play
saw
both of those.
Sony has a bundle
So
every game, including 3 for $100. Should I bite?
You should. No.
That seems like so much time.
No, don't bite, dude. Chris and I have been trying to play through all those Kingdom Hearts games for 5 years now.
That was the game that Chris and I bonded over.
He's played them all, and he's playing through them again with me. And like, I fall asleep while we're playing it together, and it's a slog, dude.
It was intense.
I don't care about Goofy or Donald or Goofy. I don't give a shit.
Breaking my heart, dude.
I played Kingdom Hearts 1 when I was a kid, and I loved it.
It's nostalgia that's pushing me through the series because it gets convoluted.
The ones now, the story just makes no sense.
Yeah, 0 sense.
Whatever.
You don't play Kingdom Hearts for the story.
I don't care about Tron World. I don't care that we have to help out our friend Tron crack the data. Like, come on. It's fucking dumb. Some of these games are like, these games are for babies, dude.
Wow.
I'm not gonna deny that. I am the giant, baby.
Every Gears game has a grindy, no life achievement, and it's always called Seriously. So I have a list of all of the achievements from all of the main games in front of me, and I'm gonna read them and tell you guys what you have to do to get them. So seriously, from the first game, you have to kill 10,000 people in versus ranked matches. That's probably, how long do you think, I didn't get it, I don't have any of these achievements. How long do you think you'd have to play ranked multiplayer in Gears to kill 10,000
Me or
people?
John? Because those are two very drastically
I'm
different.
so bad at Gears.
And Gears?
So bad. It's FPS. Like,
Yeah, you're good at
no other. I guess it's
The
TPS. It's
well,
third person, right?
Mhm.
Jay,
So,
correct me if
but
I'm
like
wrong.
no other though.
The first Gears, wasn't all the multiplayer single elimination modes?
Yeah,
all
so
the ranked modes.
if you got all the kills, you'd have 5 kills per match.
Jesus. Yeah. Okay, so, me, a generous 30,000 hours.
A third of a kill an hour.
It's 2,000 matches if you get 5
I
kills
believe
every
that.
match.
I believe it too.
Riddle's not a multiplayer guy.
I knew it would never happen because you'd rage quit after 2 matches.
Yes. No, if I never rage, if I take emotions out of it and I play this game, I'm dying first. 9 times out of 10 in every match. So of the one match that I managed to get a kill,
Yeah.
you just compile those, that's 10,000. I'd say 30,000 is pretty accurate.
I think that's fair.
Oh, but when you die, you spend 20 minutes waiting for your teammates to die.
Yeah.
Because you just sit there and watch them.
Yeah. That might be calculated.
Could you leave and then it would count your kill? I mean, who knows, right?
I don't know.
Who knows? But, okay, so seriously 2.0, this is the one from Gears 2. Kill 100,000 enemies, any mode. So I didn't get this one, but I do know you could cheese this one. There's a mission where you're like on the back of a giant vehicle and you're just mowing down locusts, and you can just reload that chapter and it counted. So
I don't know. I read that and immediately I thought about I'm doing that. I'm looking up how to do it, and then I'm going to that place and I'll spend 6 hours killing enemies.
I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't feel like it counted. Like, yeah, I'd have the gamer score for it.
I mean, it counted.
Cheesed it.
You'd see a thing.
Yeah. In Gears 3, this is where they started upping the objectives you have to complete. So, seriously 3.0 from Gears 3. You have to reach level 100. You have to earn every Onyx medal. So there are a ton of Onyx medals, and you have to do a bunch of different things to get them. So this one probably would take the most time.
Is this a multiplayer?
Yeah, and there's PvE Onyx medals too, I think.
Yeah, so the only way you could get this achievement was to switch to a server overseas that nobody was on, and have a buddy do that too, both queue up into multiplayer, so it'd just be a 1v1.
Oh my god.
Because
you're reminding me of the Tomb Raider multiplayer trophies right now, because that's exactly what I did with my friend.
Yeah, but there was like ones where you have to tag somebody with a grenade, so you punch them with the grenade as they're charging you with a Lancer bayonet.
Yeah.
And like in multiplayer, you maybe got charged with the Lancer bayonet 1 out of 100 matches, and to be there and be ready with a grenade that you could tag them in the face before you die, very hard to do. So that was a medal. There was a couple other medals where you could only do it if you were colluding, basically.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what, transferring to a region that no one played with a buddy and wasting your time doing that sounds worth it.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, but having a seriously achievement was like, whoa.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you saw somebody had that achievement, respect.
Have you guys seen like what the percentages of people who had these were?
It's
less than 1%, probably less than
1%.
0.1%.
It's like 0.07.
Yeah.
I'd say seriously 2.0 is way higher.
Yes, that one, because you could kind of cheese it.
Yeah. And I have no qualm with cheesing it. I'll put that out there. If you can manipulate it, I think that you should, because some of these are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I had no problem cheesing stuff.
I guess they didn't have to include the campaign if they didn't want you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's 100,000. I don't know. Anyways, the one from Judgment, seriously judgmental. You had to complete all the declassified missions on insane difficulty. I never played Judgment, so I don't even know what these are.
I did. So with Judgment, they kind of messed up the Gears formula. They made it like COD, where you switch weapons with Y, you throw a grenade with the bumper, you're not using the D-pad anymore. Every mission was like a mission that it ended and you got a grade on, like A, B, C, D, E, based on how well you did in that campaign mission. It really sucked, and to be honest, The only reason I played through this game was because I didn't have internet for 2 weeks and just decided to play through a single player game. And doing all these declassified missions on Insane, the declassified missions were harder already. And then on Insane difficulty, it was just impossible. But this one's probably one of the easier ones to get.
It's all PvE. All right, so then in Gears 4, you had to complete the campaign on Insane. You had to get every single ribbon. So you talked about a medal. They had a ribbon. Like, I don't know why. Between the old trilogy and the new one, they went from medals to ribbons. But you had to get all of these ribbons. Tagging a charging guy with the grenade was one of them. There were other insane ones too. Like, there was one I remember where you had to blind fire headshot somebody with a torque bow from cover. And it's random, the blind fire shots with the torque bow, so it's just pure luck. You just basically have to
not if you go to a private server with a friend and have them stand like right in front of the
yeah, maybe,
crouch.
But it fires in a different spot each time you shoot it.
Not if they crouch too and
no, but if you're holding it at the same angle and you're blind firing it, it's not going to go to the same spot every time because they randomize the blind fires like that. I think they changed it for Gears 5 and people were upset about it.
Yeah, and then the rank placements, that's really insane because there's a ton of game modes and you have to get ranked placement in every single one.
So you just have to be Sekman.
Yeah, Sekman had all of these achievements. The only one he didn't have was his Horde classes leveled up all the way because he doesn't like to play Horde.
Right, so the Horde maps, you had to play on every Horde map, and then for the Horde classes, you had to get every single Horde class to the max level, which took hours and hours of grinding.
Yeah, when he told me he didn't have it, I lost a lot of respect for him, given how much he played. He had
So close.
He had over 100,000 multiplayer kills.
I don't even want to know the hours, to be honest.
Over 2,000. And then in Gears 5, it's pretty similar to 4. You have to beat the campaign on Insane. You have to master all the Horde maps, and they added Escape. You have to master those. And then you got to get to re-up 20, and then you have to reach
20 prestiges.
Yeah, you have to reach the highest rank of the battle pass. So maybe a little bit easier than the
Yeah, I don't
Gears
see any
4.0.
ribbons, so that automatically makes it easier. It's just time.
Yeah.
What was the seriously for Gears Tactics?
It did have one. I didn't include it, so I don't know. Oh, well, there's like higher level difficulties for the missions, and it makes it impossible. So you had to do that, and then you had to get some other achievements that are hard to get. Probably easier than like seriously 3.0 or 4 or 5. But yeah, I don't have any of these. I'll never get any kind of achievement like this. But like I said, if I see this in somebody's profile, I'm like, respect.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's what I think. No.
I like achievements that are like badges of honor. Like if you are just into a game, and like I feel that way with some of the games I play. Like I just want this really grindy achievement to show as like a badge of honor. Like your Digimon one.
That's not a badge of honor. I'm going to put that out there right now. That's just because I love Digimon.
Yeah, right.
It's like there's some things, like John said, the 200 hours, that it's not that I'm proud of, but it's just something I've done.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to get into Gears 5 campaign?
Let's do it.
I think so.
All right. So we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I just wanted to briefly give an overview of our experience with the franchise. So I played like every Gears game except for Judgment. I've been a huge fan of the franchise since it came out on Xbox 360. And yeah, I probably played around 200 or 300 hours of Gears 5 since launch. I have a lot of thoughts about Gears 5 that I will get into later.
pause.
Gears Tactics, it was seriously tactical. You had to earn other achievements to get this achievement. You had to earn Grub Popcalypse, Immortal Legion. I could do this all day, and boom. 1 second. Immortal Legion is complete campaign on insane difficulty without a single unit dying.
Oh.
It's like Fire Emblem, goddamn.
Grub Popcalypse is kill 10,000 enemies. While I'm looking for Boom, they also have a Seriously Jacked, which came out with the Jack DLC, where you had to beat all the missions on Insane with Jack. And then Boom is kill 100 enemies with ticker explosions, which means you had to have a ticker in the right position to kick it back and it would finish off an enemy.
Yeah.
And then what was the last one for Seriously Tactical?
It was just those three, I think.
Apocalypse, Immortal Legion, I could do this all day, and boom.
I could do this all day.
Yeah, that was the last one.
I could do this all day is complete 20 veteran missions. So you don't unlock veteran missions until you beat the main game. So it's finish the game and then keep playing for 20 missions, each mission taking like 45 minutes.
Seeing how under 10% of people who own that game have beat that game on any difficulty.
Oh yeah, let me get the actual percentage.
It would be interesting to know how many people have that.
And you probably notice that because when you get an achievement that less than 10% of people have gotten on Xbox, it's a diamond achievement and a little gem pops up.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
So
I've gotten a lot.
7.98% have completed Campaign X any difficulty. And then for Seriously Tactics, 0.04% of gamers.
0.04.
Just like one dude. And then Seriously Jacked, actually, 0.09% have this one.
Wow.
Oh, and this is to earn all the Jacked game modes achievements. So
Fun fact, Digimon World Next Order was 0.8%.
Nice.
0.8? That's like 10 times the amount of people who... It's like 20 times the amount of people.
And not many people have bought this game. It's a small basis to begin with, so 0.8% of the small population.
So you're one of them.
I am the 0.8%, everyone.
I believe it. All right, tell us about your experience with the Gears franchise.
So, I've never played a Gears game. I've only ever watched the multiplayer for Gears 4. So, I mean, I knew Marcus, and that was about it going into the game. That's it.
I've played all the Gears games multiple times each.
And I've never played a Gears campaign. Played about 5 to 10 hours of Gears 5 multiplayer with these guys and didn't like it.
All right, so let's talk about... I want to know who your favorite character is from the franchise. I can start. My favorite character is Colonel Hoffman. Is he even in 5?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so I was pissed off about that. He's just this old, grungy military guy who yells at everybody to go out and die for the COG. And he's really old, but he's just a badass. And when I play multiplayer, I always play as Hoffman. And he has really good voice lines for multiplayer. Move your ass, Gear. That's my impression.
It's pretty good.
That's a good one. My favorite character, having only played this game, was Dave. Because they introduced him in the first chapter. And I'm like, oh, this is a cool robot. And then they're like, forget about him. Here's Jack. And I'm like, well, what about Dave? He was cool. Why don't you fix him?
Dell was sad.
I was equally sad. I feel you, Dell, you know?
Yeah.
And just toss Dave in the trash after one chapter?
Poor Dave.
Poor Dave.
Poor Dave. R.I.P. Dave.
You can't play as Dave in Horde. They should make a Dave skin. They missed a opportunity
He
there.
taught me how to play the game.
That's right.
Wow. I know. I had no idea how to play a Gears game, but Dave was there.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't. Very quickly.
So it's hard for me to pick a favorite character. It's gotta be the Cole Train, baby. Cole. I mean, I'll just put it out there. I like the first 3 of these games 100 times better than anything that came after them. But also, I gotta give a shout out to Ty, Lieutenant Min, Dizzy, Scourge, General Rom, all the Carmines, RIP. And yeah, those are the best characters.
My favorite character is Jack because throughout the entire game,
Really?
everyone else was bitching the whole time, and Jack can't talk.
You don't like Oscar? Uncle Oscar?
Who's Oscar?
Oscar is probably my favorite character from the new trilogy.
Uncle in the Village.
Who's Oscar?
Yep.
That's-
That's going to be a common thing, I can already tell.
He had a luchador skin in Gears
Uncle
4.
Oscar? Is Oscar the guy who died?
Yeah,
He's
you
the guy
stabbed
who
him.
Kate kills.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't know.
Kate was
yeah.
under.
Yeah.
Kate was under the influence. Not her
Yeah.
fault.
That's true. Anything you do under the influence doesn't count.
I do like that, Paul. In Gears 4, there's a
We don't
Lucha.
mean that.
Yeah, the luchador skin for Oscar. That was the best.
Yeah, he had a luchador mask and like bright pink and blue pants and no shirt running around.
Could Oscar talk?
Yeah.
So
That's
he was
what I learned
probably
in the
bitching
cog.
the whole time, so I don't like him.
That was always the thing we would. It was like the meme when we were playing as Oscar. That's what I learned in the cog. We
Yeah.
always said that shit.
And you can do like wrestling move executions. Like you can pile drive somebody or you can pick them up and slam them on the ground. So it was really cool to have that skin and get to do those cool wrestling executions. Oh man, good times.
That's what I learned in the cog.
I mean, when I first saw Foz, I was like, oh, sweet. British Mr. T, let's go.
Yeah, what a Foz is a bitch.
Yeah, and then I realized that very quickly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he could talk.
British Mr. T.
I
Yeah.
pity the fool.
I didn't get that at all from Foz.
Well, that was like my first 5 seconds with him, and then, yeah, he became a bitch. And then
He's
I
not
didn't like
in
him.
Gears 4, that he's only mentioned.
That's
Well,
cool.
It was
That's
his debut.
Yeah.
He did a great job.
Well, I quickly, before we get into the game itself, I wanted to talk about Gears as a franchise and how it compares to some of the other big video game franchises. I did like a search for like top video game franchises, and like a bunch of IGN and GameSpot articles came up, and they ranked like the top 30 video game franchises, and it's full of Halos and Marios and God of Wars and Splinter Cells, and Gears of War isn't on there.
Was Kingdom Hearts on there?
I don't remember. If
Oh,
it was,
so
it was
sorry.
at the bottom. But we're
Number
talking
30.
about Gears. Like, do you guys think, maybe this is more of a question for you, Jay, since it's Gradle and John's first time playing a Gears game. Do you think this franchise is underrated?
Certainly, I think the first 3 are underrated. I think 4 and 5 and Judgment are rated.
So, yeah, I'd agree with that.
You know, like the amount of joy I had with 1 through 3, and even revisiting it and playing Gears Ultimate when they remade 1, it's just unlike any other franchise. And a lot of people missed it. And now they'll sit on a podcast and act snotty about Gears. But Gears is a special place in my heart, for sure. And I think they're criminally underrated by games media as a whole. A lot of people, you mention Gears and they scoff and they say, oh, the bro dude shooter game.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it is that, but it's also an allegory for the Pacific War.
The Gulf War.
Or the Gulf War.
Shout out Cliffy B.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Cliffy B tweeted that. I don't get it. But it's also, it meant a lot to me.
I mean, they had Soviet
And it
references
is because of Gears and Halo that I am a big Xbox fan today. Without those, I'd be a PlayStation boy like Gradle, but Gears really just kept me with Xbox through thick and thin because I always knew that it was the home of Gears.
Yeah.
Well said. And I'm optimistic about where they're going to go with the franchise, too. All right.
I mean, I will say this, like, when you talk about franchises, at a certain point, you do need to let them rest. Like, you don't want a Gears 20.
Look at God of War.
God of War's had
Yeah, they had a rest.
three main games,
Yeah.
spin-offs, and then a reboot.
It had a
and
rest.
it's only going to have like one more game after that. Or you're saying specifically
I'm saying
that's how to
God
do
of
it right.
War is a good example of
Yes,
a franchise where
okay.
it had a rest. I guess
Yes.
Gears had a rest, too, though.
You should say that to Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. Listen, Nomura, I love you. Just stop.
It's enough.
It was enough after one.
Yeah.
You know how much time Gradle would have if Kingdom Hearts would stop making games?
Probably I'd have enough for New World.
Yeah.
You'd have enough to play one again.
one more time.
All right. So,
That's a great example, though. That
Yeah.
anybody have any hot takes about
Ooh.
Gears 5?
Me.
Let's hear it.
So, my hot take is I am about to give the most uninformed, no perspective review of a game that this show will ever have. Jumping in at 5 was a bad idea, and you should not listen to anything I say. These are your good points of reference, and you should not listen to me, but it's not going to stop me from going forward with what I have written down.
same here.
That's my hot take.
Okay. My hot take is they could have taken out the desert level completely and it'd be a better game.
That's a good hot take.
No argument for me.
Yeah. Building off that hot take, they could have taken off the ending and probably has been straight up where it had left off, because I feel like it ended and nothing was
Wait, ending as in Act 4? Or
Yeah. Act 4. I feel
I
like
personally think Act 4 was the best act of the game, and if the whole game was like that, I might have enjoyed the whole
no,
thing.
I'm not talking like game. I just feel like the ending of itself, like the only purpose of this, it felt like a cop out, like Indiana Jones not having a purpose in Raiders. It feels like that entire game, like all its purpose was to set up.
Yeah,
sixth one.
but we know it's built as a trilogy, so they
Right.
can't kill Queen.
No, and that's not
Whatever.
even the
Raiders.
thing about it too. It's just like, I feel like if that game wasn't in existence, and I know nothing about 4, so again, take this with a grain of salt.
Right.
I feel like just play the third game because, or the sixth game rather, the third game of the trilogy, because this one, they did all this stuff, assembled a Hammer of Dawn just for it to get taken down.
Right.
And then like, so you're starting the game at the start, which is great for a game, right? Like you started right where ground zero, but
Yeah, you're not wrong. I guess my hot take is, so I played this game at launch when it came out in 2019, and I think I might have had some rose tinted glasses because I definitely didn't enjoy it as much the second go around. And we'll get into why. All right. So getting into Act 1. Well, I guess before we get into the plot, so what did you guys think of the gameplay, the graphics, the music, that kind of stuff? Like, this is on Unreal Engine 4. It's made by the Coalition and published by Microsoft. The graphics are cutting edge. Like it's a flagship game for Xbox, so it looks really great. I played on PC, so I had everything cranked, and it was gorgeous. It's one of the best looking games I played at the time, and it still holds up great. Unfortunately, it has lots of bugs.
Yeah.
Especially at launch, like it would crash constantly on me. Textures wouldn't load in, so I'd have like gray blobs. My guns would be invisible a lot of the time, and then in multiplayer, I'd get kicked from lobbies all the time. I'd load into the COG team, but I'd be a swarm character. And they put out, so the way they did content was they had like operations, and they had like 3 big patches every operation. So like every 2 or 3 weeks they'd have a patch, and after the patch went live, the game just didn't work for a day. Like you'd log on and it'd be like, error, we can't connect you to Xbox servers, and you just couldn't play Gears until they hotfixed it the next day. The campaign had less bugs than multiplayer and Horde, but man, this one kind of felt like it came out of the oven hot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that statement 100%. There were a few game-breaking glitches, but the one thing that I'd noticed was, like, none of them were really related to, like, gameplay. I feel like none of the moments where I was, like, in a battle, all that seemed very smooth, so they definitely focused on, like, that aspect of it, because I really enjoyed the smoothness and of the gameplay itself of, you know, being able to quickly go in and out of cover, running, jumping, and shooting very quickly and without delay. I mean, even the enemies, I don't recall any, like, I mean, we're playing Alien Firestorm. Some of those aliens jump across the screen. I feel like that never happened with any of the characters or anything like that. So in terms of, like, actual characters and gameplay, I feel like they had a very good brush on that.
For me, gameplay wise, Gears is the gold standard for third-person shooters. I don't think any other game really comes close, especially cover-based third-person shooters.
Sorry.
I don't give a shit about it. Yeah, I'm gonna ignore that comment. Music is fine. There's no bangers from this game that stuck with me. Graphics and style, it's a very distinct world. It's a distinct style that you don't get really anywhere else. And the graphics, I mean, they look like it could be a game that released today.
Yeah.
With how good these graphics look.
When did Gears 5 come out?
2019.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
How much advancement has there been between then and now?
It's been over 2 years.
A new console.
So a lot?
Yeah. They built this thing for the
Not that we've
PS4
seen. I mean,
and the Xbox One. And voice acting, I think top tier as well.
Yeah.
In this game.
Absolutely.
A lot of games you have the issue where the sound doesn't really match up with their lips. I didn't notice that at all in either playthrough. And yeah, it just feels good to play.
Yeah. For me, when we're going to talk music and graphics, I have decided to make a more conscious effort to pay attention going forward, because I feel like how I play a game is typically, if there's something egregious where I hate the music or I think the graphics look like shit, I'll notice. If I don't notice good graphics, if they're good enough, I'll notice. If they're good enough, they're good enough for me. It's not really something I pay attention to.
Yeah.
But so I don't really have a comment on that, but going forward, like with our next games, I think I'll try to pay more attention to that.
A lot of the games in the Gears franchise are set kind of in like ruined cities, like in the first act and the fourth act.
Uh-huh.
And I think there was an effort to have more of an environmental focus on showing some different environments in the world to kind of show that off with this game. And it looked pretty.
I do like
Snow looked
how
really good.
Yeah.
Ice
you
and
left
desert.
footprints in the snow and in the desert. Your
Yeah.
skiff left a track. Like, I noticed that,
Yeah.
which looked nice, but I don't know, like nothing in particular other than that really like shouted out to me like this is amazing, you know. But I think that's just not where I am with games.
I have such a bad eye for graphics. Like same here too. Like I'm looking at the OLED versus the standard HD TVs, and I'm like, I don't see a difference.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
This game does run at 120 FPS on Xbox Series X, so you can get a spin around and everything looks great. No motion sickness if you care about that.
The one mechanic that I don't like with Gears, though, and just building off of what Jay said with gold standard for third-person shooters, I don't like how sprinting feels, and I don't like how it guides you toward walls.
Oh, the magnetism toward walls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
That's a mechanic though that you can use in multiplayer a lot to dodge around shots.
Yeah,
It's called wall bouncing.
it just feels strange, and maybe because I'm not as familiar with the franchise, like it feels weird to me. But for me, it's not something I liked in the campaign.
I never thought about how like roadie running is like replaced sprinting in years. It's a good
I
point.
can see how that could be jarring for somebody who hasn't been doing it for
Yeah.
15 years.
I mean, yeah, Jay watched me play once, and he's just watching me sprint through a level. I'm like, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm getting to the other door.
Just running by all the enemies.
All the enemies. Like, let Dell and Jack take care of that. I'm going forward.
I can't remember, but in the old Gears games, if your AI teammates like went down, didn't you have to go pick them up? Because if they got executed, you failed.
Yeah.
And if you cleared the level, then they just stood up. But I remember failing a few times, I'm pretty sure, because Dom or Cole would go down and they'd get killed because I took too long to save them, and it was annoying.
Yeah.
But I don't think our AI teammates ever went down, so maybe they got rid of that in the newer trilogy.
That was most of my failures playing Gears Ultimate on Insane was
Yeah.
my dumbass teammates, bots, dying.
All right. So for this one, like I mentioned earlier, Jay, John, and me played co-op. So I played as Dell, John played as Kate, and Jay played as Jack. Were you Dave in the first act, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay, so you played as Dave for part of it too. Get the credit in there for
Boy.
Alec.
Thank you. I appreciate that one.
And me and Jay both played through this when it launched. We both played solo. So when you play by yourself, you default to Kate. And
I played with my fiance
oh, that's right.
co-op. So I've only played through this twice on co-op.
Have you ever played as Kate?
No.
Okay, so have you seen what happens in those scenes that are specific to her?
Yeah, because Emily was
Split.
split screen with me.
Okay.
Yeah, which is one thing that's weird when I was watching you guys play on the split screen is it like takes the cutscenes and overlaps them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fix your game, Coalition.
And it was only sometimes. There were
It's only
cutscenes where it was full screen, but most of the cutscenes were the same cut screen, top and bottom screen.
Cut screen.
Cut screen.
Cut screens.
All right. So this one starts, you're back in Azura, and it's bombed out and ruined. The new Delta Squad, Kate, JD, Dell, Marcus is there, and Barrett is on the comms. And Barrett has sent you there to launch a Hammer of Dawn satellite because the COG is trying to get the Hammer of Dawn network back online. You fight your way through there, the swarm show up, and you get to the launch bay, and there's an error with the launch door. It gets stuck, and Delta has to get out of there because the rocket launch has been initiated, but JD refuses to leave and decides he's going to climb up to the top and break the door or get the door to dislodge somehow. And Marcus isn't happy. Marcus is like, we need to get out of here. And JD is just kind of like, no, Dad, I got this. And he does manage to save the day, but everyone's kind of pissed off at his recklessness. And throughout this whole mission, Kate is like zoning out. She's got a headache. You can tell something is off with her. And as an introduction to the game, I thought this was pretty good. You're back in Azura. So in the third game, the last part of the game takes place on Azura. You're there to find your dad, and you fight Mira there, and you like end the game there basically. So it was cool to see a callback back to Azura in this game, I thought. And it kind of is like old Gears. Like you're in some underground secret base, and you're moving through a bunch of ruins, and it's really cool, really well done, I thought.
I had no idea what was going on. So like you said, it's a good call out, but for someone who's this was the introduction, I was like, okay, like here's where we are. I don't know who these people are. I know Dave's pretty cool, which was important to me. And then I knew Marcus, like I said, just because he's like the icon of the series.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was just trying to get to know the rest of them. And yeah, it kind of felt like you said, like Kate was just having issues. They were setting up something with that. So I think they did a good job at that, as setting up Kate for the main focus of this story. But yeah, I didn't really notice JD being weird, if you will.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt jarring when he split like immediately after that. Because
I was thinking, like, was he that reckless in Gears 4? I don't remember him being. He was just kind of like Golden Boy. But I don't know. The other thing I wanted to mention was that, I don't know if we told you, but we tried to play on insane difficulty on the first mission. And we kept failing. We failed
like 10 or 20 times in a row.
We probably tried for like 2 hours.
So, talking about JD not being reckless in the last game, I agree with you. And it felt like a lot of the plot points at the beginning of this game happened off screen before the game started. Like shooting into a crowd of civilians. None of that was in any game. It's just like, oh yeah, Foz and JD did this horrible thing. And what it reminds me of is Star Wars, the most recent trilogy. It's like they started and didn't know where they were going to take the story, so they just fucking made it up as they went and retconned shit. And it's like, oh yeah, this happened back then and this happened over here. And I feel like that happened in this game too. Where I think Gears 4 was a better game. It was a better story. And then they're like, well, shit, now what do we do with these new characters that we made? The new Delta Squad. And so I think they were kind of scrambling to come up with what the story would be in this one. Like, oh, what if everybody's pissed at JD now, who was the golden boy in the last game? And it just kind of seemed cobbled together, and like, yeah, it's a serviceable story, but as a longtime fan of the series, it didn't feel like it fit with the rest of the games.
It's funny you mentioned the Star Wars trilogy, because that's when we were talking about franchises, that's what I was thinking about when I was writing that in the agenda. Like, this feels a lot like the new Star Wars trilogy. Like, the original trilogy is so great, and then they try to reboot it because fans want more, and they just don't really know how. You have different people working on the game than those who worked on the original, and it does feel cobbled together, and it does feel a little out of place at times. So I'm 100% agree with everything you just said. Anything else, guys, or should we keep going with the story?
Let's move it on.
All right, so you get back to New Ephyra, the COG headquarters, and you meet with First Minister Jin. And she doesn't want the Hammer of Dawn back online. She thinks it's dangerous, and Delta Squad is arguing with her about it when there's an attack by the Swarm on New Ephyra. So it's at this time, like during the rush to the settlement to defeat the Swarm, that we learn that JD orchestrated a massacre of civilians who were protesting the COG. And again, he acts really reckless. Like, they have no way to target the Hammer of Dawn since they launched the satellite. There's no targeting beacons. So JD tells Barrett to use his position like 10 meters from it as the targeting. So he's running around and targeting the Hammer of Dawn, so to speak, to fight the swarm. But there's like a trapped convoy, and Lizzie's in a truck, and something goes wrong with the Hammer of Dawn, and Barrett can't stop it from firing. And JD gets all these people out of the truck, but Lizzie is stuck, and he's trying to pull her out, but the beam is coming closer and closer to him because it's targeting his position, and it fades to black, and it implies that Lizzie didn't make it. So after that, we skip forward in time about 4 months, and it's just Kate and Dell and Jack. Jack was introduced before you go out to fight the swarm in New Ephyra. They're at an outsider village where Kate's uncle is from, and they're trying to convince them to join the COG. So they meet with her uncle Oscar, and he doesn't want to join the COG, but then there's an attack by the swarm. And then during the battle, Kate gets captured by a snatcher, and she gets all these visions while she's in the snatcher. Do you want to talk about that, John? Because you were playing as Kate, and you too, Gradle, because you were also playing as Kate. You guys want to touch on what that was like?
It was pretty cool.
I thought it was awesome.
You take form as different ranks of swarm.
Yep.
Swarm. Starting with like a juvenile, and then going all the way up to a warden. And you're kind of in this position where you're like, I'm not sure who I'm supposed to be killing right now. Because you know you're Kate, but you also know you're controlling a swarm. So do I target swarm? Do I target COG?
Yeah, and it lets you do either.
I don't know.
Like I started.
You can kill anybody.
Swarm. Yeah, I started killing swarm.
And then I shot a COG, and I was like, "Oh, I can kill COG," and I started shooting COG.
Did you try to kill me or Jay?
Yeah, I did. I couldn't do it though.
Okay.
I didn't get either of you guys down, but like
you didn't have enough time, and each interval was like probably like 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah,
each
and
time.
there's probably like 3 or 4 or 5 intervals.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. It was like,
the best one was the last one with like the warden that you're just like this big ass guy just like swinging the freaking axe around is awesome.
Yeah, and it's a cutscene when you kill Oscar, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're the warden, you walk up to him menacingly, your helmet's off, and then you just like grab his face and squish it, right?
Well, you don't see it though. It's an off-screen death, so I assumed he was fine.
Oh, you assumed he was okay. Probably all
I didn't
right.
see his body.
I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of stuff in this game that happens where I'm like, they should definitely be dead, and then it's like they're not.
Yeah, so for me and Jay, it's just like a normal fight scene. Like I was Dell, he was Jack, and we're just the swarm are attacking. We're just trying to kill swarm and thinking that we gotta go help Kate. And then like I could hear like John being like, "What is going on?" And
I was so confused. I didn't know who to shoot at.
But then you shot at your friend, yeah. Naturally.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Because I was swarm at that point.
Mm-hmm. You took on the persona.
Just makes sense, right?
So they introduced the warden as an enemy in this game. What did you guys think of him? Because at several points during the game, you fight these wardens and they're like mini bosses, right?
Yeah.
They have a lot of health. You have to knock their helmet off, and you can only damage them in the head. And they have their breaker maces that they swing, and they do a lot of damage to you.
I mean, I always pretty much had a long shot on me as a secondary weapon, so I just took off their helmet within like 3 shots, and then I would sometimes ball talk pistol them to death at that point. So they never were really like a challenge for me, but like they definitely were interesting. I mean, they always put them in far enough away where they would like slowly approach, right? So depending on the map, it wasn't a big deal, but there were a few maps where I lost sight of them a couple of times, and then they'd just appear on my flank. I'm like, what the hell?
There was the one point in the game where you guys didn't shoot the warden, and I 1v1'd it as Jack.
And you won.
I did.
Jack was OP though.
Yeah, I was.
I forgot about
included.
that.
Why didn't you just revive them with your insta revive?
Well, I don't think we
were
just
AFK.
weren't fighting it.
Oh,
I said, you guys don't shoot. We'll see if I can 1v1 this guy. And I did.
You killed like all the enemies in that room too.
He
Yeah.
killed probably
More than
90% of the enemies in the entire game.
Yeah, playing as Jack is OP. It really is. And you upgrade your laser all the way. It's not fair. But when I played as a human player, as Dell, I thought the wardens were a fun way to mix it up. You know, if the whole game was just shooting swarm.
Yeah, in
then
this
it did the
game,
same.
a lot of the enemies that they introduce are like beast-like. You have like the carriers and the snatchers, the worm. In the first game, there were more like sentient enemies who you fought, you know, Ram, Scourge, Mira. But in this game, like they really kind of skewed it more bestial in nature.
I don't know if I agree with that, because in the first games you had the corpsers, you had the worm still there, you had the Brumox, you know.
Yeah.
And then in 2 you had beast riders, and so they kind of have had it throughout.
Maybe they just had more in than the original trilogy, but they haven't had a bad guy who you fight like Ram or Scourge.
That's true.
I mean, there's Queen Reyna, but you don't fight her in either of the first 2 games.
That's true.
But you're right. They did have a lot of beast type enemies in the original trilogy as well.
Yeah, and I liked the enemy variety for the game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was enough. There wasn't like a crazy amount of enemies, but you, for a game that's not like crazy long and it's campaign based and reasonably linear, I thought there was enough enemies that scaled up in difficulty as you went.
like I remember just like, again, the first time going through the first act, you get your first swarm and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then you get the first, like, I don't even know how to describe these guys. Don't know what they're called. The T-Rex looking guys that has the blisters on them.
Oh, the
Brumox.
Brumox. Yeah.
Brumox. And I'm like, oh, that's actually difficult, especially on single player, because it just kept targeting me. So I like just kept being in shelter and then popping out, shooting the blister, and then going back in.
Yeah. Pop a pimple, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, like I was like, this would be way easier on co-op, and I'm sure it was.
I don't think in the first 3 games they had those blisters, did they?
No, they had
You
weak
just shot 'em.
points, but yeah, they didn't. That's the only place you can really damage them. Is the blisters and the Swarmax. Yeah, I like the Warden because it felt like a more, sentient, like humanistic kind of enemy. And you really don't get a lot of that in these games compared to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
So
I miss having that bad guy like Ram or Scourge.
yeah. And then looking forward to the next game, I'm really hoping that there's a boss fight with Reyna and it kicks ass.
Yeah.
So
She's got tentacles.
yeah, she got tentacles. What's she gonna do with those?
I don't know. Better watch some.
Stop. Just stop. This is why we shouldn't have had you on the podcast.
All right. So JD shows up and Foz in tow to help evacuate the village. And while they're evacuating, Kate tells everybody about these visions she had and what happened with Oscar when she was controlling the swarm. And Marcus tells her about this secret lab at New Hope in the north that she can go to find some answers. So against JD's wishes, Kate and Dell head north to search for this secret lab at Mount Kadar outside of New Hope. So this is probably my favorite act of the game. We learn a lot about the origins of the Locust. They introduce the skiff in like an open world element. Well, I guess the swarm, but you go down into the lab where they created the first Locust. But
yeah.
that stuff, like in the original trilogy, like the Sire missions, those are some of my favorite missions in the game. So this, when you're back underground and Niles is there again, I loved it.
Yeah, it gave some nostalgia for the missions where it was awesome because you were playing Gears, a shooter, and then it all of a sudden turned into like a horror game kind of because it'd be pitch black, you only have a flashlight, and those sires are running at you. In this game, they never like went complete darkness like in those games, but it was a good callback, a good reference, and these guys probably had never seen a sire before, so it's the blind things with stuff coming out of their backs. Mission Underground in the Lab. I do think that what's his name,
Niles.
They should have just let him go, man. I don't think he needed to resurface again. But
I hate his voice, and for multiplayer, when you play as Swarm, he's the Mira for this game. He's the one bitching at you when you lose and cheering you on when you win, and it's just really annoying. And I thought you killed him in the first game. Yeah. That was like one of the most, I think the second game was when you did that. It was so satisfying.
Was he not just an AI in this game?
You like downloaded his brain, and it's in a bunch of different terminals.
Basically the Marvel AI thing. Right? He's
been around for a while.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, the notes that I had on this act was, this was definitely one of my favorite acts. They definitely took the concept of these like mini open worlds from like I think Tomb Raider, and then Uncharted started trying to do it. So I think that's more like up and coming in the modern games to take these.
It's like a hybrid.
Yeah, exactly. Take away from these linear paths and just add branches, right, where you can
do side quests.
Yeah, do side parts on a mission map, which I really do like because it's each open world is a little bit smaller, so it's a little bit easier to digest, right? But you still get the full impact of an open world while simultaneously making it narrative focused.
A linear game.
So what I have for notes on that is I called it like a pseudo open world kind of situation. And when I was playing the game at first, I did feel like that was one of my favorite parts. Driving around the skiff, these two, I was driving, so while these two were passengers, they couldn't do anything, which I thought was funny. Doing donuts while we're supposed to be going to a mission. But
figure eights at all?
No figure eights.
Oh, I should have tried it.
I should have. Let's get back in. Just kidding. But I will say, by the end of the game, I felt like the skiff and the pseudo open world was kind of pointless. It felt like it was there to add just distance between your objectives and nothing else, because there was nothing to do in between objectives. It was just spend time driving 200 meters to the next thing. And it really got old. And I didn't like it at all. And by the end of the game, I was like, man, I wish I could just go through a door and there'd be a loading screen that I could just decompress during and then go into the next mission rather than have to drive a skiff 2,500 meters.
Yeah, they did it twice, right? When really they only needed to do it once. Like when they did it in Act 2, which is everyone's favorite act, right? And then everyone
I liked
pretty
Act
much
4.
said everyone said Act 3 can kind of like shove it. You're done with it, right? At that point, you had already done it, and so like if they had just made that a little more linear, I think that would have helped a little bit.
That's like exactly what I'm saying. Like it was fun at first, but then it became too much.
Yeah,
because after enough times, it's like now I realize it's only to put distance in between objectives, right? It's only to make it feel like you're not doing everything in the same place, and there's no actual content in here.
Yeah.
John, let me read you my note on the skiff.
Yeah.
Quote, I didn't like this feature, and driving the skiff wore me out quickly and just artificially made the game longer. Side missions were uninteresting, and I'd skip them if I replayed this again.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Any dissent from you, Jay?
No. I agree. I think the linear Gears games are more focused. I think they added the open world parts because there's a lot of open world fans out there, and they're trying to appeal to the largest audience, which then waters down the franchise. and they lose that magic that made them special in the first place. So, in terms of achievements, having to do every side quest, find all the collectibles in the giant open world, not very appealing. So, for me, I'd prefer a linear base Gears over full open world or even this half measure they took.
This game felt shorter than the other games too.
Yeah, it certainly was, I think. It was shorter, and it seemed like to pad the length that they left off in story, they just put in this filler bullshit of side quests and driving around a skiff. Oh, now you have to dodge tornadoes. Like, is that fun? No.
Can you talk about that, John?
Yeah, so on my PC, when the tornado part happened, they kept yelling at me like, tornado right in front of you. It was not coming in. It was not, the tornadoes were not on my screen until I was like 5 feet in front of them.
I had so much issue with the tornadoes there.
And they were like, what do you mean? Just dodge tornado. Tornado right in front of you. I'm like, I cannot see it.
From our point of view, there'd be a tornado clear as day 100 meters out, and John would drive straight at it. We're like, go left, go right, go anywhere. And you're like, what are you talking about? And then we die. And then so I did like a screen capture, I think, and shared it with you.
I did see that.
This is what you should be seeing. And you're like, yeah, I don't see that at all. So I think we had to get through that part with somebody else driving.
So the issue was,
I took over.
Like the tornadoes, you could see them in the sky, right? So you could see them in the sky from far away and then know where they are. The sky portion wasn't there for me. So I didn't see tornadoes until I was 5 feet away. And I could just see like very light whirling dust. And then we'd be in the tornado like, what are you doing? Why are you dodging those? I'm like, I can't dodge them because they're invisible. Yeah.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
All right. So the last point I wanted to touch on from Act 2, the boss fight with the matriarch.
I want to touch on that.
Let me hear. What do you got on it? You lead us off.
Well, I couldn't beat it on my own.
Oh, yeah.
It took me like 20 tries on my own, and I still couldn't beat it. Jay's like, I'll hop on with you. Hops on with me, beat it first try. Like,
was he playing Jack?
No, he was playing Dell.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I helped Griddle out. I actually really like that boss fight. It's one of my favorites in the game. But I've only played it co-op ever.
Mm-hmm.
I've never played it single player, so I don't know.
The final phase is hard single player. Like that's what really was it for me, because I would get her down to like the final phase every time, but as soon as she did the jumping, and she only did the jumping, which she skipped with us for whatever reason. I'm not complaining because we beat it, but like she would jump at me and then not break the ice, but break the ice like underneath me. And then I would die, and I'd be like, well.
So what I like about this boss fight is in a lot of games, the boss fights are just bullet sponges.
Mm-hmm.
You shoot it for 10 hours, dodge a couple things, and you're done. This one actually like had some thought. You had to lure it onto the ice, shoot out the ice beneath it. It was blind, so it went off of sound. And then after you dropped in the ice, you had to get behind it actually to shoot its weak spot in its back. So for me, I thought it was a pretty cool and fun boss fight because on top of that, she had different attacks, or she threw a spike at you, or she'd charge you, or she'd jump around like Gradle said. And all the cover in that area is destructible. So the map would change as the fight progressed, which I like as well. So for me, I thought it was a pretty well done boss fight and one of the stronger points of the game.
I agree with it from that perspective. It was just hard, so that's why I'm
playing solo versus playing co-op. So if you're playing co-op and you get hit with a spike, somebody else can shoot the ice in front of it so it falls in and doesn't kill you. You're playing by yourself. It takes too long to get the spike out, and your AI teammates are useless, so you're just fucked. Yeah. So I agree. It took me several tries when I played it by myself as well, and I was just playing on intermediate difficulty, but then I feel like we tried it 4 or 5 times and we beat it pretty easily when we played it co-op.
It took us a few tries, but I will say from Kate's perspective, it was an interesting fight because I remember like during that fight, there's like 3 portions where you start having visions mid-fight and the whole screen goes red and you can't see anything. And I remember I'm running around the arena and I'm like yelling, guys, what's happening? Is it behind me? Is it chasing me? What's going on? And you guys are like, what do you mean? No, it's fighting us. I'm like, I can't see anything. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, the whole screen's red. They're like, what the hell are you talking about?
So with single player when that happened, I literally just didn't do anything, stood by the ice and just kept shooting back and forth like until it walked into a dead spot. Because like it only targets you on single player.
Right.
So like that's like the most frustrating thing is like you said, you get hit by a spike and you're done.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely hard.
And you run out of stuff to hide behind too because
it
she
keeps
breaks
smashing
it. Yeah.
So I think it's definitely good for co-op, and it's a really good progressive fight. Like you said, it was very well designed. It's just very hard and single player.
One thing I'll say to credit this game is their co-op system is really cool, done really well.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do you get different experiences based on who you're playing, but when I played with my fiance, I played on a harder difficulty than her. She played on intermediate, I played on hard. And it was cool that we could do both at the same time because there's no way she could have played through on hard.
Right.
So I can't think of another game that does that where you can play split screen with 2 different difficulties.
And how is that done? You just have less health? Like what
I
does
have
that?
less health, my bullets do less.
And the enemies do more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. I do want to talk about one thing with co-op, and that is opening double doors requires 2 people, even though you're each on one door. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
That's
a serious staple.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a series staple. It's been dumb since the beginning because you literally don't help each other.
But when you were
Help me
playing
open
this
this
game
door.
in middle school, now you're playing it as an adult and you're like, oh yeah, I open doors with 2
But you
people.
know me. I always lag behind. I'm always 100 meters, 200 meters behind everyone else.
Right.
That's how I play games. I play slow. So Paul's at a door
I'm just waiting.
and he's like, help me open this door. It's a freaking swing double door. Like, you don't need me to be on the other swing door. Just open that one door.
That's how they segregate the parts.
I know.
It's kind of like, there was some jank in Spyro
Nah, there wasn't.
that you found endearing and the rest of us didn't like. It's kind
I
of the
don't
same
remember
thing.
that.
Yeah.
I think
Check the tape.
Spyro might be flawless.
Check the tape.
So it's nostalgia glasses, I think.
Yeah.
Where we saw that as normal and you saw that as what the fuck.
It's like, because then I have to catch up and then I have to like take my time to fall back 100 meters. Again. That's where I play. I play 100 meters behind.
You do.
Play slow. All
I
right.
had the long shot the entire time too.
Yeah, I'll talk about the weapons later. I have it in here
Oh yeah.
to go through it. Yeah, I have some thoughts on the different weapons. So the next part of the game, so you defeat the matriarch. Kate has severed her link to the swarm, and basically just says, "Yeah, we need to get the Hammer of Dawn back online. We need the old plan." So now Kate and Del travel to Vasgar, and Barrett hooks him up with his buddy Paddock. And JD and Foz show up because they're going to help them because JD has had a change of heart and he wants to help Kate now. So Paddock is like a former UIR soldier, which is who the COG fought before the Locust War. And I don't, is he in Judgment, Jay? No.
Not that I remember.
So it's first appearance for Paddock.
Oh, nice.
And he's just like this Russian ripoff guy.
I'm sure he's in the comics and stuff.
There's comics.
Yeah.
They made it seem like he was a returning character, just like you
He
said,
knows
they fill him with this backstory. So I just assumed he was in the first 3.
There's books, there's comics,
Yeah.
there's all
Okay.
those. Like
What came first?
the game.
Oh, okay.
Him and Baird know each other. That's all I know. It's clear. They go to Vaskar, which is this desert region that's on the border between the COG and the UIR, and it's where like the UIR was developing their Hammer of Dawn technology because it was an arms race back in that war. And you're gonna try to launch their satellites and get their targeting beacons so that you can use it to fight the swarm. And Paddock is gonna help you. And you take the skiff with you, so you get to keep doing that and more open world stuff. So we've touched on this already. I think we all think this chapter was a bit much. There's not really a whole lot of unique stuff. Did anybody want to go into detail on anything, or I was just going to talk about the boss fight?
I mean, I just had a comment about like Paddock and like the Cold War theme, the Cold War themes. Yeah, I think that was like obvious, right? But
Children.
I mean, it was still cool. Like, okay, yeah, like there was a Cold War in this time too, and the fact that it was an arms race and everything like that.
Well, from playing previous games, you always heard of the UIR, and there was UIR skins and stuff you could play in multiplayer, but it was never a plot point. So it was kind of cool to see them in this game honor the previous games and go back and explore that war a little bit more, or the aftermath of that, and the animosity that still kind of existed between COG and the UIR.
Do you know if it's been the same team developing all 5 games?
No,
it's not.
No. Gears switched to the Coalition. Their first game was Gears Ultimate. They remade 1 to like prove they could do it, and then they did 4 and 5.
Okay.
So before that, what was the team name? It was Epic.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Epic.
So
Put Epic
before
on the map.
Fortnite, it was Gears.
And then
That's all Epic's done.
Then they started making Fortnite, and they're like, "All right, we don't need Gears anymore."
Well, the creators of Gears.
No, they made the engine. They made Unreal.
They make a bunch of money from the Unreal.
They made Unreal, so everyone who makes through Unreal
Anything.
pays them.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The other
Cliffy B and Rod Ferguson, they didn't want to do Gears games anymore too. So
I mean, that definitely makes sense that like why Gears was always like cutting edge of graphics, because that's always been like the focus
they've
of
had money.
yeah. The other thing on Act 3 was there was one side objective that I didn't find to unlock the ability that it was, and I went around the entire map like twice trying to find it of like the little corners. I'm like, you know what, I'm done.
I think in Act 3 it got kind of old. Keep returning to the rocket launch building.
Yeah, I did notice that. Right when I thought that it was done, it just kept going.
It just dragged on a little bit, and in my opinion, every game that has a desert level, it is the weakest level except for the water level. So,
yeah, Journey's desert level was easily.
I mean, Mario, all the water levels suck. Metro, the desert level, they could take that out completely. But I just think there's something boring about all brown, drab. I mean, you've just seen it so many times too. But for them, hey, we have all this tech we put together for snow. What kind of acts like snow? Oh, sand.
Yep.
There we go. There's our next biome.
Great.
This felt like the longest act of the game to me. I don't know if it was. It was either this or 2, but this just maybe it just dragged and it felt longer than 2. But yeah, I agree with you. This was easily the low light of the game.
I will say, on the second playthrough, what shined through more for me was the banter in between the characters. Like on Act 2, when they're about to shoot the bomb to blow up the ice to get underneath. It's generally funny stuff, you know, between Del. He takes 3 steps back. Are you far enough? Yeah, we are. And then takes a couple more steps back. Like, you know, I think there was some good character building through that portion where it wasn't the cutscenes and it was, in game too, riding on the skiff.
Yeah, they in my opinion, they don't do a good job of exploring Dell's background, but they do a good job of establishing rapport between these characters and making you feel the friendships. All right, so can we talk about the giant worm?
The Kraken?
The Kraken, yeah, it's like a giant sandworm is what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
So,
Dune.
Yeah, exactly, Dune. So Matriarch,
Drummers.
I thought, was the best boss fight. I thought the sandworm was the worst boss fight. I guess there's really only 2 boss fights in this game, right?
Yeah, and then you
Unless
see him
you count
again.
the Brumox or the Swarmox.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
many bosses, right?
Yeah, the Swarmox probably are bosses. So the first part of the fight, it's really more of just like a platforming thing. You just have to climb down the tower and it like traps you and its holes open up and you shoot them, but you shoot it.
Yeah.
I don't even think I had to shoot it. I think you just zapped it, Jay, and it was like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even have to waste my ammo.
OP Jack.
So you get down to the bottom and it traps you, and then it's got tentacles that shoot out at you. Tentacles are a big theme in this game. And that's pretty
I'm
easy
not allowed
too.
to talk.
No, you're not.
And that's it. You
launch the satellite.
yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts, or did I nail it?
There were the moments in both this Kraken fight and the second Kraken fight, why that had to be a 2-time boss, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was very like stun heavy on single player in particular, just because like the one would always go for you, even if you're like in the back of the like room.
I know I'm
And-
jaded because I just had Jay and he had like multi-zap at that point too, so his zap
Yeah.
could hit multiple tentacles.
He's always at the front.
Yeah, so like I'm basically playing by myself.
Yeah.
Because the AIs are no help at shooting these like tentacles shooting out. So it's like, okay, 3 are coming out at once now. Okay, got 1, got 2. The third one grabs me and then stuns me. I'm like,
Oh, the tongues, yeah.
yeah, the tongues. Yeah, sorry, not the tentacles.
They look like tentacles.
They're tentacle tongues. They're all tentacles. All tongues.
Well, nothing has
When I played
20,
solo,
20 tongues.
I
so.
never used any of Jack's abilities unless I had to. But then I saw Jay using them all the time, and I was like, that's helpful. I should have done that more on my playthrough by myself.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, the most OP ability of Jack's was the like stim upgrade where you just instantly revive everyone.
Yeah, playing as Jack was not as fun as playing as Dell, in my opinion. You fly up to things and press right trigger and they die. And that was it. Your friends say, I need help, and you just press Y and they instantly revive. There was some like cool things, but I think they introduced them too late, like the hijack ability where you could take over enemies. They didn't introduce that till like the end of Act 4, right?
Yep. Well, 3.
Yeah, so like by that time all my other abilities are already upgraded. And you don't want to fix what's not broken. So you just go up, you zap them. I use the pulse abilities sometimes, but it wasn't really useful.
Yeah.
It was basically just the stim and the lay down the mine that shot out lasers,
Yeah.
because that became really OP. You could just put that on a group of enemies and it would kill them all. So between that and the multi-zap, playing as Jack was kind of boring, opposed to playing with a bunch of different weapons and, doing the cover-based shooter. I just flew around and
murdered everyone.
Yeah, it seemed like they tried to make stealth more of a thing in this game too. You could get behind enemies and execute them, but it just I never could get it where I could really chain them. I'd get one.
Original games?
You could do that in the old games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could kill one, and it's like, oh, someone saw me. There's no way to like stealth through an entire level, which would have been cool if they had built that in, but it just didn't seem
Yeah, like
viable.
I played a lot of stealth games too, and like some of the times it felt like it's like I'm being stealthy, and yet that one drone infected thing, like saw me, and now all of them are coming. Like,
to be fair, I don't think it would really fit the tone of Gears if you could just stealth through levels, but they introduced it. It's like, yeah, we thought about it, but we don't really want you to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Chapter 4?
Chapter 4. I guess it's Act 4, Chapter 1, but it's the final chapter. So the gang is back in New Ephyra. They've launched the Hammer of Dawn satellites, and they have all of the targeting beacons. They are in Jin's office, and she's chewing them out. She wants to arrest Kate because she's mad that Kate has a connection to the Swarm and that she disobeyed a direct order. But in the middle of this argument that they're having, the Swarm attack. And Delta Squad has to roll out to save the day. So they've got the targeting beacons to use with the Hammer of Dawn. They're setting up defensive positions, and it was cool to get that Hammer of Dawn targeting gun and to be able to rain it down on some of the bosses. And I thought some of these levels and horde modes that they put into this part of the game was cool. There's like a part where you hole up and there's a ton of pouncers and there's snatchers, and you just have Hammer of Dawns and you're just raining it down on them, and it felt really cool.
Yeah, I thought that part where we had 2 Hammers of Dawn, and the first try I think we only had to do 3, but the first try you're like, John, there's another Hammer of Dawn if you want it, and I'm like, nah, I'm fine, I'm shooting stuff. And then the second try after you killed yourself, I got a Hammer of Dawn. And that was the funnest gun in the game, for sure.
Yeah, I killed... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it was the funnest gun in the game. You're controlling the Hammer of Dawn beacon or whatever, and you're aiming it, and it says infinite range, and he's putting underneath stuff, and it rains down this laser beam
and slowly move
basically insta-kills people. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun, and then I killed myself, and then we had to do it a third time.
Because what would
happen? I killed myself too.
The AI, you'd be targeting it, and it'd be about to go live, and then an AI walks in front of you, and it hits you.
I wasn't far enough from the thing I was shooting, and I just killed myself. Like, it was like 6 feet in front of me. I know. I think I walked in front of you and killed you.
JD just walked in front of me at the last second, and it just rained down on me.
But my time, it was like I was hiding behind a pillar, and there was a pouncer on it. So I take like five good steps back, and I aim the Hammer Dawn on it. I'm like, this is far enough.
Should have followed Dell's advice. Yeah. 2 more steps.
Should have taken 2 more steps. So it's like funny because it took us 3 tries to beat the part where we had the most OP weapon in the game.
Same here. For the same exact reason.
Yeah.
It was like classic Gears. Everybody's back. Clayton is there. Cole is there. You got Barrett on the comms. It was just a lot of nostalgia. You're fighting in a exploded out city. You have the Hammer of Dawn. It was a lot of fun.
Is Cole always in a Transformer?
No, it was the first time I ever saw one.
No, last game.
4?
End of 4. Him and Barrett are both in Transformers.
Oh, yeah.
4. Spoilers for 4.
I did say, like, when you mentioned that he was one of your favorite characters, he was my number 2 to Dave, but
you should have seen him in the old games.
I wish that's
when
what
he was young thinking. And he's just like, he used to be a pro football player. They call it thrash ball. But now he's fighting against the Locust, and he just like runs through shit and always runs in. He's like, it's the coal train, baby. It just runs in there like a madman. Yeah. And he's the best character.
Yeah.
And then you got Baird, who's a whiny bitch. And then you got Marcus and Dom. And man, that initial squad of 4 like is why we love Gears.
Yeah, Cole's
and now
awesome.
We have these new characters, and like even Paul and I aren't very attached to Kate and JD and Dell. Like, I can get why you guys aren't attached to them either.
But they don't do a very good job.
Right now, it's kind of just good faith pulling Paul and I forward with okay, Marcus's kid, whatever. But we'll see how it wraps up.
I will say the one chapter, maybe 20 minutes tops of Coltrane that I got, I can definitely see why he's a favorite, because like he just has a personality
awesome.
that is just more than being anyone else in the franchise.
Well, you gotta meet Ty, Dizzy,
Dom. Dom's cool.
Dom.
It sounds like they did a lot better with making the characters.
Dizzy was
Enjoyable.
this cowboy who only drove a big rig, and he always had a cowboy hat, and he would go yee-haw, and like, come on, man. There's none of that shit in these games.
He wore a 10-gallon
They're
hat.
just bitching the whole time. All three of them.
You're going underground, and the last thing you see as the doors close is Dizzy in a chainsaw. Or no, was it Ty? Ty in a chainsaw fight with Scourge that has a pole with 2 chainsaws on either end, like Darth Maul, and they're like, and you're like, well, I hope he made it out okay. It's badass in the first 3 games, and they missed it here.
We're gonna get it. We're almost there. We're gonna unload. All right. So the next part after the sequence with the Hammer of Dawn, you have to fall back somewhere, and you run into Reyna, and she's been transformed into the Swarm's queen. So in the last game, guys, at the end of the game, you like disconnect her. She's Kate's mom.
Mm-hmm.
You disconnect her from the Swarm, and you think she's dead, but she's back from the dead, and she's all tentacly and fucked up. And she captures Del and JD, and she's got Kate, but Kate's got a knife, and you've got to choose as Kate who to save, Del or JD. So, Gradle and John, who do you guys save?
Good deal. Who'd you save?
I saved Del because I had no connection to JD whatsoever, other than the fact that he was in the beginning, left because he was a dickweed, and then came back, and everyone was friends again. But Del was there the entire time, so I was like, I feel like this is the better choice.
That's a good reason. I saved Del as well because Paul was playing as Del. And that's it.
When I played through my first time, we saved Del because, as I spoke before, I'm not attached to JD in any way. I think he's a pretty white bread character in the first game, and in this game they tried to add character to him, and it didn't really stick for me. So Emily and I saved Del, and I don't regret it.
I saved JD, so I bucked the trend. And the reason I saved JD wasn't because I care about JD. I couldn't tell Marcus that his son was dead because I love Marcus so much.
So, like, yeah, how did that affect the rest of the story?
Well, you tell Marcus that Del didn't make it, and he's like, "Aw."
It's the same reaction as his son dying.
No, it's way less emotional. He's just kind of bummed. He's not like devastated. That was hard to watch when Del just walks away, and Kate's like, "He didn't make it." And I was like, "What the fuck?"
Nah, she's handed him his dog tags.
Yeah.
She didn't say anything.
Cog tags.
Cog
It
tags.
just broke my heart, and when it was my choice, I just couldn't put Marcus through that because he's lost everybody he cares about throughout this franchise. His dad dies in the 3rd game. His wife dies in the Cog fertility program we learned kind of through context, and it's like not his son. I just couldn't do it.
His partner.
Yeah, all like Dom, his best friend. I just couldn't do it. To that grizzled old beard. All right, so I just want to talk about, what did you think about them putting this choice into the game? Like, I mean, I thought it was fine to kill off a character, but I didn't like that the Coalition made us choose who to kill.
I am very interested to see how they handle it.
That's what I was getting at, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't know. Like, how are they going to handle that in the next game? Are they going to have there be a canon choice like Mass Effect, where if you haven't played Gears 5, it's just, well, this is what happened in canon. But if you played Gears 5, you load your save, and it's like, well, in your version of the game, JD is alive, even though Dell is the canon choice, and we're going to write this whole new dialogue and new sequences with Dell just for you. Which I guess that could be cool, but it just seems like a lot of work, and I think it would have been better. And like you talked about Ty earlier, Jay, when you find him later in the hollow and he's just all fucked up, you toss him the shotgun and you're like, come with us, Ty. And he just takes a shotgun and he kills himself. It's like, it's powerful, his death. It's epic. It's like... It's a thematic moment, and I feel like...
Yeah, especially because up to that point, they're building Ty up as, like, the toughest guy. Like, nothing can get to him. And then he's in there, he's been tortured.
Yeah, he's in a torture
He's throwing the shotgun, and they're like, all right, let's go. Turn around, and he blew his own head off. You know, that's, like, good storytelling. And here it's like, oh, pick who you throw the knife at. It's like...
Yeah. I just feel like they missed an opportunity for a moment like that by... giving the player agency to make that choice in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not even really... It's a choice that doesn't really hold much,
well,
I suppose, but like...
I don't get what they're going to do next game. Are they going to write two completely different games?
Or does not include either character?
That's what I was thinking.
That's what they could do too. They could write them, like they could write both of them out. Like, oh yeah, he died and he... also died off camera. But that'd be a shitty way to...
No, he'd be like, oh, he's doing another mission somewhere else.
Right, but you
more
have
people
to,
in the,
but the only way to
crowds.
say that is for you to know who you saved.
Yeah, so they change one dialogue.
Yeah, right, but then you'd still be, you have to choose
You just
which
load your
person you
save.
killed.
Yeah, you load your save.
I mean,
Just like
it'll be,
other games. Like
it'll be interesting. I feel like they
It's
already
interesting.
have a plan for 6 that, like, they're kind of incorporating into this. And I mean, I hope that's the case, but that's what it felt like. I mean, it felt like this was just a build to the final game in the trilogy. So I feel like that was almost partially in development when this was going on.
I think the last game's going to be mainly about Kate. And it's going to be just Kate and Marcus or something running
I
through it.
mean, yeah, Kate kills Reyna.
I would love it if they decided to make
Right.
Marcus the playable character in the final game.
That would be sweet.
I would be so happy. All right, you guys ready to talk about the end of this game?
Yup.
So everybody kind of takes a second to mourn Dell or JD, and then they have to regroup because the swarm are still there, and they regroup on the walls on the outskirts of New Ephyra, and the Kraken is back, and it's fucking shit up, and there's these giant cannons on the wall that they're trying to hold it off with, but they take forever to recharge. So while they're recharging, the Kraken is up, and it's the same mechanic as earlier. It's tongues shoot out at you, and you got to blow them up. And then when the gun recharges, you run over, and you shoot it in the mouth. And you do that 2 or 3 times. And what happens? Does it break the guns? Or, like, it's just not working with the guns? Is it
I
clear?
don't think there's time enough for them to recharge.
Yeah,
again.
it's not enough to recharge.
Yeah, so you can't keep shooting it with those giant cannon guns. So what happens is Jack overrides Baird's targeting and firing mechanism for the Hammer of Dawn, locks it to himself, and flies into the Kraken's mouth, and then fires. And the Hammer of Dawn rains down and kills Jack and kills the Kraken. And
I have a note for this moment. It said Jack, comma, almost as sad as losing Dave.
For Paul and I, it's way more sad because Jack was with the original Delta Squad through the first 3 games as well.
yeah.
So it's a character we've known.
I thought he was new.
No,
I thought he was the Dave upgrade.
he's just as old as Marcus and Cole and everybody. So it's like the one constant through the whole 5 games now sacrifices himself. And so for Paul and I, it's pretty emotional because Jack has been opening doors for us.
Yeah.
From the
I just assumed it was like an upgrade.
You know what I missed
at that moment? I didn't
Dave
realize that.
died, and then it was like, oh shit, Jack's back.
Yeah.
Because at the
okay.
beginning of the game for Paul and I, it's like, who the fuck is Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that was for both of me. I thought that Dave was the one from the previous games.
Oh, no.
And then they went and did Jack.
No.
The whole game, I was just waiting for somebody to say, Jack, rip that door.
Yeah.
But they
That's
never
what-
did.
Kids always used to say.
See, there's a lot that I was missing.
Yeah.
So it was sad. I thought it was kind of fitting. It kind of circled back to the first act when JD kind of does the same thing, targets himself to try to save the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cool, but overall on the ending, I thought the build up and the payoff was way less significant compared to all of the original trilogy games. At the end of the day, like the Hammer of Dawn was online at the beginning of the game. It went offline. All you did was get it back online, and then you blew up this Kraken worm.
Well, and then it's offline, and then the main, the end boss that you kill is just some sandworm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
already
let
fought, yeah.
me spoil the first three games. So in the first game, you delve into the hollow and you set off this light mass bomb that's going to destroy 80% of the hollow, and you think it's going to fuck up the Locust and win the war, and you have to fight Ram, the general of the Locust, and it's epic. In 2, you flood Jacinto, the last human city, in order to destroy the Nexus, which is like the inner part that didn't get destroyed by the light mass bomb, and you have to fight Scourge, the guy with like dual wield chainsaws, and it's a sweet boss fight, and it's so cool. And then 3, the conclusion, like you destroy the Locust and you defeat Mira, their queen, and it's like you end the war. And then in 4 and 5, like there's just no grandness, and it's like, well, we got the Hammer of Dawn back online. It just doesn't compare.
offline.
To elaborate, the Hammer of Dawn was online in the first 3 games.
Okay.
You could pick up a Hammer of Dawn targeter anywhere and just use it.
Mm.
Well, not anywhere, but
There had to be a satellite overhead, but whenever you found one of those guns, you could generally use
if you're
it.
outside.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it went offline in 3.
Well, no, it what would happen is you'd use it for a while, and then you'd beat the level, and it'd be like, oh, the satellite is no longer.
No,
above
yeah,
you.
but when did it go like offline?
I don't know. They
In between
yeah,
Oh, it's
4
just
and
off
5,
screen.
maybe.
Okay.
they don't want anybody to have that power. Like what
Or
happened?
they wanted it to be a plot point for 5, basically.
What happened when the locusts like attacked? They killed like 90% of the human population in 2 weeks. And so the decision was made to scorch 90% of the Earth's surface using the Hammer of Dawn. And it's just like this horrible weapon that's really controversial, and a lot of people who are alive hate it. So like the new COD didn't want to use it anymore because it was too dangerous, and the locusts were gone. So why do we need it?
And then the swarm showed up.
Where did the swarm come from? What are they?
A hive mind of some kind.
No, they were.
They kind of touch on it, John, when you're in the Mount Kadar. They can't, so the locusts can't really die. Like at the end of the war, their bodies all like hardened into like this crystal-like substance, and they just kind of buried them in mass graves. And then in the 4th game, they started like emerging from like the husks as the swarm.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think we know the full origin. I'm pretty sure we'll figure it out in 6.
I thought that it was the matriarch and Mira.
You're thinking of the locust.
Oh, is that different?
Yeah.
Anyways, so any
locust. Second 3 swarm.
any other thoughts, guys, on the ending of this game?
I do have one more thought about the boss fight itself. We already touched on it's weak that the final boss fight is such a weak boss for story. But the other thing that I thought was a miss was that the railgun, which is the powerful weapon that you said,
The cannon, yeah.
powerful cannon, was like the powerful weapon during that boss fight. And when it was charged, you would go over and you'd like aim it at the worm. It'd be a cutscene that showed it losing a piece of its face or something.
Yeah.
It's like it would have been a lot cooler to actually be able to use the railgun as opposed to it being a cutscene generator.
All right, so a lot of my remaining notes, we've touched on a lot of this stuff. So overall, as you were going through the game, how did you feel? How did you like the level design and kind of the way that it moved you through these environments? Like I thought the strongest levels were when you were indoors and you're fighting in like an abandoned facility or you're fighting in a bombed out city. I thought it was especially cool in Act 2 when you're in the abandoned lab. It's like really claustrophobic and it feels tight. And there's a decent amount of like chase, like not chase, but where you're running to try to escape like a collapsing building and you have to kind of platform through the level. And there's a decent amount of verticality where you're climbing up something or sliding down. And I really liked that. I thought it really highlighted like the smooth movement in the cover mechanics, and I'm used to like the magnetism when you're sliding, so I know how to, make it work to make me go faster. Maybe you guys not being as familiar to the game, it was clunky for you and it kind of threw you off, but I thought that was some of like the most fun, those are some of the most fun levels from a gameplay standpoint.
Yeah, for me, who has played hundreds of hours of Gears, roadie running by holding A is like second nature and sliding from wall to wall. So for me, it just feels buttery smooth. I get a hold of those familiar controls and it takes me back. And wall bouncing like a lemur.
Yeah. There's no other like third-person shooter that has like the mechanics like you talked about Uncharted earlier.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have that.
I've only played 1 and 2. I'm like halfway through 3. And it's fun. They definitely do nail some of the stealth with Uncharted.
Yeah.
Like the cover system in Uncharted just isn't on par with these games in my opinion.
When it's going into and out of cover, and like you said, the buttery smoothness is definitely in this game. Like I really noticed very early on, if I wanted to sprint, I had to avoid all walls and covers. So like I would like just try and go straight forward. But
if you're familiar with the game, hitting walls can be faster than running straight because it speeds you up to pull you. So you pull, jump off, pull. You could slide from wall to wall through a corridor like 10 times faster.
And you could just run.
You can if you hit B at the same time you hit the wall, you'll instantly jump over the wall, so that like it's faster than going around the wall. So it's these little things that you don't pick up unless you played a lot of Gears.
They added some things like in 4 to the cover mechanics where like if you're uncovered on one side and there's an enemy on the other side, you can hit a button and you'll reach over and you'll grab him and you'll pull him on your side and he's stunned and then you can execute him.
Yeah, that was in this one too.
Yeah, so I don't know if you did that, but that was kind of cool. I like
just the tutorial, and I don't think I managed to do it again.
Yeah, I don't know if I did it too much in the campaign either, but in multiplayer it's really fun. People grab you and you can like, there's like a tight timing where you can hit X and you'll slap their hand away and then they're stunned. So you like never pull anybody over the walls in multiplayer because everybody's really good at that timing that counter. So if you get pulled over a wall, it's like the opposite of what they intended. You get pulled over a wall and like, aha, they're fucked now. You slap their hand away and then you just blast them with your shotgun. But it's fun. Like they've implemented a lot of, like they've just mastered this genre.
Yeah, so the level design, it was cool.
It's cool too how they have the pods in a lot of levels and you can shoot the pods and they fall down and it makes cover for you. Like that. So it's like movable cover and a lot of the cover is destructible. Yeah. And it kind of changes the level a little bit. So most of the levels were really thought out. well. I thought some of the side missions where they were in the open world and you're outside, I didn't like those as much.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a really fun cover shooter.
Yeah, the open world didn't really serve purpose other than directing you to these levels.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what I feel like a lot of us are feeling. It was just there's nothing else to do besides ride the skip to the next level, quote unquote. So, I mean, I don't know how you guys felt about.
I would have preferred a loading screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were touched.
But that's all. Yeah, we've already said that.
All right. I want to get your guys' opinions on the power weapons because that's a big facet of the Gears games. All these unique weapons that you can pick up. I'll go first, but I want to know, did you have a favorite? And what did you love about it? So for me, the long shot, I think you're on the same page, Gradle. That gun is my favorite sniper in any video game franchise.
Yeah.
It's so snappy. I'm so used to the zoom features. When you hit a headshot with that gun, it's so satisfying. I love the animations of their head just exploding. And you just feel so good. You can get good with it without scoping in. So in multiplayer, a lot of people don't even have to scope in. They can just snap to someone's head and boom. But it feels so good. And it does so much damage, especially when you have the active reload on it. I'm also a big fan of the breaker mace. It was a change of pace to pick that up and be able to have a powerful melee weapon. And in multiplayer, it's cool to run around with like a big stick. If somebody gets close to you, whack, they're dead. And then like, I never used the range in the campaign, but there's a ranged attack where you can wind up. It takes forever, and you come down with an attack, and it's in a big cone pattern, and it basically is a one shot of anybody who's in it. But it's like a high risk reward because if you get hit while you're in the windup, you're dead. But if you can get it off, you're going to kill probably like 3 or 4 people who are in the big cone. And the Lancer GL was the other standout for me. I liked being able to just rain down those missiles. And for a long time, that was like the go-to gun in Horde. That was how you killed bosses. You just would spam Lancer grenade attacks. And yeah, it's cool. What about you guys? What did you like? What was your favorite?
So my build, I pretty much picked up the weapons that I identified and then kept them throughout the entire game, even when they ran out of ammo, because you could always just pick up the ammo. So I had the long shot, I had the Baltok. I like Bartok from Anastasia. the Baltok pistol. So those two are like my main two. They just did a ton of damage, and I mean, I'm used to third person shooters, so like getting headshots on those were a lot easier for me than first person shooters. And then I would alternate between the Lancer GL and maybe a shotgun for some corridor fighting, so maybe a boom shot. And then that was pretty much it. I barely used grenades.
I use grenades all the time to fight wardens.
It's rock. Overkill, baby.
Overkill.
Really?
Yeah.
Overkill, yep.
Mainly in multiplayer. Just picking up an overkill and just not even having to aim.
Yeah.
Just holding it on the trigger and people get splattered. That's a good feeling. I do like the salvo and the mulcher. The mulcher in this game is better than the minigun in any other game. I think you wind it up. It has the active reload to cool it down because it'll overheat, and it's just satisfying to put a bunch of bullets into somebody and then they disintegrate.
Yeah.
So, and then you guys already said it, but the long shot I think is the GOAT of all snipers. Their head explodes and it goes psh, and you're just it's so satisfying. It is unlike sniping in any other game because you get that satisfaction of them standing there holding their gun with no head and then slowly falling down. you do that online, and it's a great feeling, you know. So same with the Boltok too. Boltok online, active reload. You can put one body shot, one headshot, and their head explodes.
Yeah.
So boom, boom, psh, you know. It's like that. Boltok is a really good gun. I could talk all day about these guns. The Lancer is very weak, but in multiplayer it has stopping power. So if somebody's charging you, you just shoot them with the Lancer. They slow way the fuck down. They're running like slow motion, and then they can't get to you. You know.
Yeah.
So there's the risk reward of that. Revving up your chainsaw and walking into a room blindly, hoping that you run into somebody. What other game has that? You know, and then chainsawing a person in half. It's over the top. It's crazy. All the guns in there. The Nasher. Paul and I played hours and hours of 2v2 Nasher execution. 2 versus 2. Only gun you have is the Nasher. Bounce against walls and try to make the other person miss. So much fun.
Yep.
Hammer of Dawn. Boom shot. Like, you could talk all day about these weapons. These are weapons that... There's 10 weapons in this game that are all unique, and that is an achievement on itself, you know.
Yep.
Probably more than 10. So, and I didn't even get into the DB weapons, the Enforcer, the Empire.
I don't like
You didn't talk about the buzzsaw.
Oh, the buzzkill. Yeah, man. Like, yeah.
Was there any new weapons to this game?
Breaker Mace, Lancer GL, Cryo Cannon, I think, were the 3 new ones.
Yeah.
Cryo Cannon.
Cryo Cannon is fun for the campaign. You just
It's
freeze
just,
somebody.
yeah, I mean, it's just for that one area, right?
It's useless for
Everything.
multiplayer because it takes so long to freeze somebody that they just run up on you and splatter you because the range isn't long enough.
No.
I didn't even talk about the torque bow.
Torque bow.
Oh.
How did we forget
Holding
the
down the
torque bow?
torque bow, you hearing that noise on a multiplayer map and being like,
Oh, shit.
fuck, am I going to get stuck here? Then you get stuck and you walk around for like 4 seconds before it explodes. Or you can charge it up all the way, and if they headshot you, it's the same as a sniper shot through your head. And they could shoot through your head and hit the person behind you and stick them,
Yep.
and then they explode. So,
Yeah, it's
These
a
guns.
lot to
the
love.
Hammer Burst I like better than the Lancer. Well, I mean, whatever, guys.
They
You
got
get
the
the point.
They got the Marks. There's so
Marks,
many guns in this game. They used to have other guns too. Remember the one shot?
Yeah, I do remember one
The
shot.
sawed-off shotgun.
I hated the sawed-off shot.
Shot-off shotgun. What's left the overkill?
That's what
But had
killed
range.
That killed Gears 3 for me. It was people would take the sawed-off shotgun and killed all Nasher battles because they
Yeah.
would just kill you no matter what. Okay, John, your turn.
I didn't like the gunplay in the game. I don't like Gears gunplay. Personally, I hate the time to kill. It's a million years. You shoot at a basic enemy for 10 minutes and then Jack rolls up and zaps it for a second and a half and it's dead. I don't enjoy the guns. I don't like a lot of the special guns have super low ammo.
Yeah.
And playing co-op, at least, getting ammo was a difficult thing to do. So having one was like a waste of time. So I'm rolling around with a claw and a lancer the whole time, and I'm doing no damage and sitting in the back doing nothing. I tried the long shot for a little bit. Its aim was weird. It's different than most shooters that you play. I don't know whether I was shooting into an invisible wall in front of me, which happened a lot in this game, or if I was just missing, which I don't believe, but I couldn't get the thing to work. But after 5 shots, I'm out of ammo anyway, so might as well pick something else up. I did not like the guns.
So that's an interesting point. You bring up time to kill, which is why I like Gears, because you have a lot of Call of Duties, Battlefields where, and even like PUBG and more recent games, they saw me first, so I died.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like that. My favorite games are Call of Duty World at War and Hunt, because it is mostly single shot weapons. Whoever gets the headshot first wins. And that's what I enjoy. I don't enjoy having to shoot a guy for 10 minutes. I don't enjoy first person to see the other one is the one who wins the gunfight. I enjoy whoever gets the headshot wins, with like a single shot weapon.
Right.
I guess I'm kind of picky with not FPS, but with shooters in general. And Gears, I'm not saying Gears isn't great at what it does and isn't a great game, but for me, it's so different that I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's what hooked me on it at the beginning is I'd play COD a lot, and I'd be like, well, he saw me first, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that's how 90% of my deaths were. In Gears, he'd see me first, and I'd start wall bouncing, making him miss shots, and I'd get close to him and splatter him with the shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
So there was still the opportunity to outplay, even if you got seen first. So,
which is like, again, with multiplayer in Gears when we played it, was something that I did not like because it felt like the only viable gun was the Gnasher or a shotgun. And if you were using anything else, any automatic, you had no chance.
it's the stopping power.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of other games. Like the assault rifles are like support weapons, and the main guns are the shotguns and the power weapons.
Yeah.
And that's what the multiplayer is focused around. They place down power up and spawns, and it's a fight to control those weapons because you have an advantage if you can get them.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have people who get them and they suck. They can't hit anybody with a long shot, and you have limited ammo with a lot of the heavy guns that are explosive, and it's like, oh, this guy got the drop shot and he missed all 3 shots, so it was for nothing.
Yeah, I do think it sets it apart from...
It's definitely different.
Yeah.
But for me, it was less enjoyable because I'm so used to other games,
I can see that.
That's fair.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
All right, guys. I think we're ready to give our scores on this game. I can lead us off. So, I think when I played this the first time, I had those nostalgia glasses on, and I would have given it an 8 out of 10, but playing through it a second time, I think I saw more flaws with the game that we've talked about, and I still really liked it. It had some moments where I was just caught in that nostalgia, and it just made me feel like, man, this is Gears. But overall, it's this new trilogy isn't as good as the original trilogy. Like, it's still Gears. I still love it, but this game's a 7 out of 10 for me.
For me, having not ever played a Gears game before, I think that they didn't really do a very good job of including those kind of people. Like, I didn't even know who Mira was until like chapter 3, and then it's like, oh, I guess she's the queen, but they didn't come out and say that. So there was a lot of like story elements for me that was just like I had to kind of like fill in the gaps. So from a story perspective, it was very difficult. Gameplay was very good and clean, but there were also a lot of bugs. So I have to give it probably a 6.46.
So specific.
I'll go next so Jay can end it on a high note. I agree completely with the story elements that Alec mentioned. Very difficult to jump in at the point that we tried to jump in. From a gameplay perspective, there really wasn't all that much that I enjoyed. That being said, the game looked great, sounded great, whatnot. It was obviously a well-made game. It just wasn't a game that appealed to me much. That being said, I gotta give it a 5 out of 10. Because, as I've said in previous episodes, I grade these things based on how much enjoyment I had. And it wasn't terrible.
That is important.
It wasn't garbage. but it was not something I'd play again.
Yeah, I mean, it's all valid criticisms, especially somebody jumping in fresh. You know, nostalgia points aside, I do think they made a lot of mistakes in this game, and I don't think it's as fun as any of the rest of them. Even 4, I think, is more fun through the campaign than this one. And you see this a lot in trilogies where the second one is more of a setup for the third one. So I'm hoping they really knock it out of the park on the third one. But for me, I mean, 1 and 2 are 10s. 3 is a 8. Judgment is a 2.
What's tactics?
Tactics gets a 7.
I still liked it.
I liked it. It was just too long. Man.
Yeah. I'd agree with you there, Jay.
Gears Pop was a 10.
Bring back Gears Pop.
Yeah, they need to bring back on those servers, man.
There was a
Funko
search.
Pop, Marcus, and Scourge. Bring it on. Funko Pop Ram. I gotta get me one of those. Anyway, for Gears, I didn't give Gears 4 a score, did I?
No,
What do you give it?
6.
Gears 4, I give an 8.
Okay.
So I have to agree with Paul. This game is a 7. It's got all the familiar mechanics, got all the gameplay I love.
Yeah.
Story dragged on. Wasn't very invested until Act 4 when shit started to hit the fan.
Yeah.
And then they really fucked up Horde mode and multiplayer at launch, and it killed the game. So for me, this is a 7. It could even maybe be a 6, but I'll stick at 7 because I like the franchise.
You don't want to give it a 6.46?
I don't know. So
I'm not doing 6.
I like it. Coalition, if you're listening. Coalition, if you're listening, keep it up. Knock us out of the park on the last one. Gears fans need a win.
Yeah.
More Coltrane.
So before we wrap it up, I do just want to get your guys' thoughts on where Gears should go next. Like, what are your expectations
In the trash can. Just kidding.
for 6 and beyond? Like, I think you talked about it, Jay. Like, I'm really hoping they knock it out of the park with 6.
Just
I'm hoping
kidding.
this is a setup game, and 6 is just going to be nuts to butts action. We're going to get the big boss fight
Nuts
with
to
Reyna.
butts.
And it's going to pay off. Like, I have high expectations. I think the Coalition has learned a lot from making 4 and 5, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they've learned a lot. I think Microsoft gives them a big enough budget. They have a big team now. They've got, like, 200 people at the Coalition, so I'm really optimistic that they're going to put it all together for 6. And beyond that, I'm fine with having a rest to Gears, but I don't want this franchise to go away. I want there to just always be Gears games in the pipeline.
I want Tactics 2. I want
Judgment.
Gears Pop 2.
3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, bring more prequels. Judgment sucks, so get
Pendulum
some other
Wars.
prequels.
More
Pendulum Wars.
Pendulum Wars would be
Wars
sick.
game would be sick. I would be all for
Yeah,
that.
more Gears Pop, more mobile
Gears.
apps.
Gears Locust versus Swarm.
No,
I mean, I'm still
that's
like,
stupid.
I still feel like this entire game, they already had 6 in mind.
Are you gonna play 6, Cradle, when it comes out?
If you guys make me, yes.
No. Are you gonna play it like independent of the show? Are you gonna play 6? If it's on Game Pass,
I don't have Game Pass.
you might. Why
I
doesn't
might
6
by
comes
then.
out?
That's true. By then I might.
We'll say just like, are you gonna play 6? Like, maybe you're not gonna play it at launch, but would you pick it up if it went on sale? And play
6 months on sale.
I want
That's my MO on 6.
a Gears MOBA. I want a Gears Battle Royale.
Nice.
Gears Battle Royale.
Actually, that sounds
So
terrible. Fuck.
Gears
that.
1Z1.
That's like my least favorite game. of all
Really,
time is
all I
Gears
want
Battle
from
Royale.
Gears ever since fucking
Gears trading card game?
what was it, 2010? All I want from Gears is Wingman.
Oh yeah.
Like a flight simulator?
God, right.
Gears flight simulator?
They teased it too.
In Gears 2, there was a game mode where it was 5 teams of 2. And instead of it being deathmatch, every kill was a point, and being the last one surviving was a point. So it was a race to get the most kills as a group of 2 versus other groups of 2.
Oh,
and
that's
that was the most fun multiplayer game mode I've played in any game.
Yep, I agree.
So
Could spend
that's what I want them to do next.
months of my life playing Wingman.
Screw a next campaign, just give me Wingman, man.
Gears 6, no campaign. Just the battlefield route.
They don't have to wrap it up. This was the end.
Yes.
Reyna
They
wins.
just give a little cutscene of Kate killing her mother, and boom, then that's it. That's all that needs to happen. I mean,
That's it.
that's it.
Anybody else have anything? All right. Wow, it's your first episode, Alec, and we're letting you pick the next game.
That's right.
Lucky you.
I'm so excited.
So tell us, what are we playing next?
All right, you guys ready?
No.
Next time we're playing ukulele.
Oh, ukulele.
Yep.
All right.
It is a 3D platformer by a lot of the people from Rare that worked on the original Banjo-Kazooie. So personally, I've not played a banjo game, but this was definitely on my list. I bought it years ago, and I'm definitely excited to play it.
Okay.
Cool.
That's exciting. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. Follow us on all of our social medias. They'll be linked in the description. If you like the show, tell your friends about it. We'd really appreciate it. We're the Giants of Backlog. I'm Paul.
I'm Alec.
I'm Jay.
I'm John.
What are you doing in my waters?
What are you doing in my waters?
Not fishing.